the need for a great reset.
So people assume we are just going back to the good old world which we had and everything will be normal again. This is, let's say, fiction. It will not happen.
There is only one way this pandemic is going to go. It's going to get worse and worse and worse.
Pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack.
You heard the corrupted businessman controlling your government? The back to normal is not happening. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Rudowski here of WeAreChange.org, and we have a lot of absolutely crazy news to get into today, as I think it's fair to say that things are definitely getting a lot worse, especially domestically here inside of the United States. Not just with way of life, not just with culture declining, not just with intelligence declining, but more importantly with our access to energy, which of course is absolutely essential to growing and expanding life. You deny energy, you destroy economic prosperity, you deny mobility, you deny growth, you deny real progress, you deny the free flow of goods and services, and I'm going to be arguing that that is done deliberately and not what the corporate media wants you to think is responsible for this larger culprit that is plaguing our modern day society. We're going to be talking about that plus a lot more, but before we do, if you like the shirt that I'm wearing right now that says "My Body, My Choice," you can get it on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. The clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast was a compilation put out by a news organization that we can't even talk about here on this particular platform, but I believe wonderfully highlights some of the stark warnings given by a lot of the central controllers in our society that are undemocratically setting up policies, initiatives, regulations, and rules that of course no one voted for, isn't in anyone's favor, and mainly work against the best interest of the general public. This as resources in this world become more scarce and the life quality degrades, which perfectly leads us to this first story of yet another major U.S. food processing plant catching fire, this one specifically in Los Angeles. Now, is this yet another coincidence, as some people are saying that this is one of many unusual events that have been allegedly happening all throughout the United States? Is this sabotage? Is this an accident? Is this crime? Well, we don't know, and we're only speculating from here, as it's important to highlight here that crime has definitely been on the rise after a billionaire set up a bunch of attorney generals all throughout the United States, essentially paying for them to be in office to push his policies that have created a bunch of lawlessness and targeted political prosecution of people for having the wrong beliefs. Wrong beliefs, aka usually individuals who are not far unhinged leftists or individuals who believe in personal responsibility. As the situation in places like Portland, Oregon have been absolutely chaotic to say the least, mirroring of course many other big cities all throughout the United States, like in Chicago, where a TikTok challenge is literally seeing the 767% increase in Hyundai Kia thefts. Yes, you heard that correctly. There's a new TikTok trend challenge going viral in Chicago that is showing people how to hotwire the car, all under the hashtag Kia Boys, all being promoted and allowed on the Chinese social media platform that has a special algorithm that promotes degeneracy and animalistic behavior here in the United States, while of course promoting intelligence, art, and history in the Chinese version of the app. Makes you wonder why they're doing that, and also how effective are they at doing that? This, as the animalistic-like behavior is of course running rampant in places like New York City, where officials there are saying that officially the other TikTok challenge a few years ago called the Knockout Game is also returning to the Big Apple, as of course criminals see how fast they could knock someone out by sucker punching them when they're not looking. Absolutely vile, pathetic, disgusting, cowardly behavior by what are some just absolute monsters in our modern day society that are acting no better than animals. And that behavior condomed, with of course the attorney generals put in by the billionaire, as of course the rights to self-defense are non-existent. And if you do defend yourself, you're heavily prosecuted, especially in places like New York City, where violence is rife and citizens are left defenseless. This, as the current president of the United States is announcing plans to make everyone defenseless throughout all of the United States by taking away people's ability to defend themselves, literally arguing just recently against the Second Amendment, saying that specifically if you ever want to fight the US government, you're going to need F-15s, which I personally responded to laughing in Vietnamese and Taliban. But again, these comments are just senseless, not accurate, and don't make any sense at all when it comes to this larger conversations about people having the ability to defend themselves.
Americans to say it's all about keeping America's independent and safe. If you want to fight against the country, you need an F-15. You need something a little more than a gun. No, I'm not joking. Think about this. Think about the rationale we use.
And this is not the first time the President of the United States made such ridiculous arguments, as of course this is one of his repeated slogans that is absolutely nonsensical, especially on the face of the Afghanistan debacle. This, as the President of the United States is set to announce some major changes to this country and people's ability to defend themselves this Thursday at Philadelphia's Independence Hall. What will he announce? Well, probably more policies like in New York City, where literally people are paid to drive around with government signs reminding people in Times Square that you're not able to defend yourself, and that, quote, it's a gun-free zone. Yes, what you're watching right now is literal video of government contractors using government tax dollars driving around New York City to remind the people there that any weapon is not allowed. As of course, people are using weapons more than ever against each other. Those people, specifically criminals, since they know everyone is left defenseless. And if that's the policy that they want to institute nationally, no thank you. I don't want it, and I think it's fair to say that there's going to be a lot of people not complying with it, as the laws hurting the innocent while allowing the criminals to thrive are not laws at all. They are commands of despots that just want to see you suffer, which I refuse to participate in, which I will be talking about more about my plans, what I'm doing specifically on LukeUncensored.com, our own platform where we get to say and do whatever we want. We're going to have a video right after this one getting into some spicy topics that, of course, we cannot talk about here on this particular platform. There's some crazy stories coming from the United Kingdom that, again, has been actually releasing their data, while of course the United States here keeps it secret. Lots of things that we can't talk about here. Luke Uncensored videos are definitely not family friendly, but they are extremely necessary to get a full perspective and picture of exactly what's going on there on an uncensored platform where there's videos almost every single day available for you. LukeUncensored.com. Click the link down in the description below and sign up right now. Now, in yesterday's video, if you haven't watched it yet, I definitely recommend watching it. Before watching this next portion, we detailed the crumbling society that is Europe with its dark winter quickly approaching. A dark winter that isn't going to be fixed for many years and only looks to be worsened. This as the Nord Stream pipeline was just shut off again for 3 days, and many Europeans are panicking since they don't know where they will get their energy, heat, gas, and oil from this coming winter. And even though we look at Europe and say, oh, they're really far away, oh, what they do doesn't really matter, we have to understand that there are some states actually copying some of their policies, instituting some of the same rules, laws, and regulations that have led Europe to where they are right now, and we're not really that far away from the larger consequences of politicians and globalists setting up disastrous policies there that some politicians in the United States are also implementing. In Texas, not so long ago, there was a major freeze that impacted a lot of people, cut off their energy, that led to tremendous human suffering after, of course, failed green energy policies in that country during their transition that didn't really work and failed. Now the government there is threatening to fine energy companies $1 million for, quote, failing to prepare for extreme weather, even though it was the Texas government that led to this rapid transition that no one was ready for. This, as of course there's bottlenecks, institutional shortfalls, logistical problems, and in some instances renewable energy not being sufficient enough to help transition society like the politicians and globalists have been doing, with disastrous consequences. I think California is a perfect example of this, as that state has been prioritizing a lot of virtual signaling, a lot of woke policies, a lot of policies that sound good but are leading to utter disaster. California has been shutting down their nuclear power plants, pushing, of course, renewable energy, punishing people for using the old forms of energy. This, as their bureaucratic chaos is leading to a situation where their state is now dealing with blackouts as we are speaking right now, as the state has officially reached out to their citizens and said, quote, set your thermostats to 78 degrees or higher, avoid using large appliances, and charging electric vehicles. Yes, you heard that correctly. They also told you to turn off unnecessary lights. Yes, the state of California that just banned all vehicles other than electric vehicles in their state by the year 2035 just told their citizens to stop charging their electric vehicles. Gold. Absolute freaking gold. Ironic, to say the least, showing you exactly how these failed green energy policies are leading, one, to lack of energy, but two, to policies that are deliberately meant to prevent you from having any kind of mobility, any kind of freedom, as they are literally creating disaster-like scenarios that are only going to be made worse by the government. Now, what's the California government going to be doing in response to this? Are they going to be getting rid of that 2035 new law that prevents people from buying any other vehicle but electric? Since, you know, their electric grid is totally messed up, not sufficient enough. Nope. They're not going to do any of that. They're going to double down and institute more policies, more rules, more regulations, pushing this insanity that is literally creating havoc on our society. California is a beautiful state with its nature, but with the politicians there, they have absolutely ruined that state to the point where people can't even turn on large appliances. Yes, this is the insanity of living in a modern, democratically run, uncivilized, violent hellscape with energy blackouts like people see in the third world. Now, what's the Los Angeles Times blaming this on? The weather. Yes, for some reason. Even though, if you look at the data, you look at the temperatures on average, within the last few years, there haven't been any kind of major significant changes when it comes to weather. It fluctuates. It has different cycles, yes. But for the Los Angeles Times to blame this on quote climate change is absolutely Orwellian as much as it is draconian, pouring on the propaganda that absolutely doesn't fit here. It's not just poor planning by California bureaucrats, because we have to understand these California bureaucrats created this situation. And whether it's done by accident, by ignorance, or on purpose, it's done. It's creating havoc, and there needs to be some accountability here. As of course, let's be real with ourselves. If the government really cared about, you know, the consumption of energy, they would go after private mansion ownership. They would go after the private jets, the huge mega yachts. They don't. As of course, the people who own those are the ones screaming about climate change, telling you that you can't turn on your appliances, as of course they live a life of luxury and they cheer on your perpetual enslavement under the cover of making the weather better, which is absolutely insane. One of these individuals is of course Bill Gates, that by the way has beachfront property, as him and his buddies are screaming about rising sea levels. This as his latest fund backs, quote, methanol as a green fuel for global shipping. Yes, they're just changing the rules, changing definitions, changing what is what for their own personal benefit. And with Cyber Polygon and what Klaus Schwab was warning us at the beginning of this video, I think it's fair to say that there could also be a potential electric grid false flag on the United States, potentially because of the lack of energy that's deliberately being sequestered, potentially because of potentially because of actors pretending to be somebody else, whether Russia or other foreign threats, or Iran, or China. I think it's fair to say that there's a big probability that there could be a large false flag cyber attack coming our way very soon that, of course, would cripple electricity and communications all throughout the United States, which would prevent me from saying, "I told you so," which I so often have to do on this particular broadcast, which I do so totally without ego. I'm joking. I'm being facetious there. But this is just my speculation. This is just my own personal opinion. And I think the way that things have been going, the way that things have been also shaping up, the cyber war games that have been happening with the World Economic Forum not so long ago, Cyber Polygon, I think with how fragile our infrastructure is, I think with how some politicians are just hell-bent on destroying our infrastructure, I think it's fair to say that there is going to be some kind of major hiccup here. And if there's not, there's going to be large economic ramifications to pay for these politicians that have destroyed our energy sector, as of course the lack of energy creates the lack of economic opportunities, creates inflation, creates of course poverty, creates of course people absolutely being screwed and robbed and liquidated of their financial assets. That's my 2 cents on this particular matter. If you think I'm right, share this video far and wide as much as you can to get the word out, to just try to get people aware of the possible scenarios that could unfold here that they should definitely be preparing for in one way or another. And if you disagree with me, get those fingers stretched out and let me hear it down in the comment section below. I always appreciate constructive criticism. I always appreciate the ability to be able to have a conversation that I wouldn't naturally have from people who see things totally different from me. I love those moments. I could have some of those moments in the comments. I wouldn't have those moments if it wasn't for you here, still watching this video all the way at the very end, which makes you an absolute amazing, incredible human being, which I love. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org. One more video right now, LukeUncensored.com. See you there.